Good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you're calling in from. Thanks for joining us today. We have an exciting update with Sierra Madre. It's been a while since we've had a webinar, so thought it would be a good way to kick off the year. They've had some fantastic news, including most recently declaring commercial production at La Guitarra, which they purchased from First Majestic in, I believe you closed in May 2023. Is that correct, Alex?
That's correct, yeah.
Perfect. So with me today, I have Alex Langer, who's CEO, Greg Liller, who's COO. And as always, the presentation will contain forward-looking statements. If you'd like to find out about those, you can find them on the company's presentation on their website, which will be updated later today. And there will be a Q&A section, so feel free to put your questions in the comments section and we'll get to those. But I think we're going to kick things off with a little bit of an update with Alex and Greg.
Sounds great. Oh, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks a lot, Deb, for organizing it. As you mentioned, my name is Alex Langer, and I'm President and CEO of Sierra Madre. And we also have Greg Liller, who is our Chief Operating Officer and Executive Chairman. Just a quick reminder, Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, we do trade on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol SM, and also on the OTCQX under SMDRF. Sierra Madre Gold and Silver is probably the newest precious metals producer on the exchange, which is quite exciting. As Deborah mentioned, we did announce commercial production, which started on January 1st. We were in test mining for just over 6.5 months, and we gradually ramped up towards full commercial production, which is about 500 tons per day at the fully permitted past-producing La Guitarra silver and gold mine. Next slide here. Forward-looking statements, you saw some earlier. It's also on our website for review at any time. Quick reminder, the mine is located just outside of Mexico City. We're actually in the state of Mexico City. It's about a 2.5-hour drive, including traffic from Mexico. So in terms of location, it is excellent. We have power to site, we have water, we have an ample workforce. It's a toll road from Mexico City all the way to just outside La Guitarra. So it's very, very easy to get to. We did come out with a resource in November of 2023. That's what we're currently mining right now. That's where the material is coming from that resource. You're welcome to see that resource on our website, but in essence, it's a combined resource of about 47 million ounces of silver equivalent. I mentioned earlier, it is permitted, it is past producing, so allowed us to get to commercial production quite a bit quicker than you would find in a different type of scenario. We did announce Q3 revenues of about $2.5 million. Q4 will be more, obviously, as we increase our throughput and increase deliveries. What will be quite exciting is we'll be able to start to share some of that information in terms of our cost base, in terms of what our revenues looks like. At the end of Q1 of 2025, we will be able to start to share an all-in sustaining costs. We'll really be able to dive into what that looks like. Unfortunately, we don't have a PEA, so it makes it very, very difficult under NI 43-101 rules to discuss what a cost would look like and also what our expectations will be. I think the easiest way and re-rating potential will be after those Q1 financials. And if all goes well, we are quite excited about them and be able to share the information, and then you'll be able to kind of push out 4 quarters to give yourself an idea of what our revenues and what our production profile would look like. Some of the highlights so far, maybe I'll pass this over to Greg to go through, but in terms of the test mining and processing, it did start in July of 2024, so just over 6 months ago.
Yeah, we've just slowly ramped up. We went from around, it was 270 tons a day. And then by the time we got into October, we had all our mills running, and we were doing 504 wet tons a day was the capacity there. And we were running at much better than 80% capacity for both those months. December was very similar. So we've had quite the smooth ramp up, and we've managed to do it all ahead of schedule, which is a bit unusual, I think, for most mining companies to do something ahead of schedule. The plant recoveries have been pretty much in line with what were predicted. Actually, we get a little bit better gold recovery. But no, it's been, all things said and done, for having started this thing on a shoestring, we doing it. Things are going quite well. And no, we didn't do a PEA. The decision was made, why blow $250,000 on a study when we already had all the data anyway. So it was money that we saved by avoiding that. And by the end of this quarter, we should be able to then start making, like Alex said, formal financial statements. So.
Yeah, you can see several of the numbers there that we did produce. So just under 1,300 dry metric tons of concentrate were shipped in 2024. We also had some more concentrate in inventory at the time, just sitting on our patios, about 94.6 tons. So those trucks you can see there, they're about 35 tons each. And now we are increasing our shipments. We're doing 2 to 3 trucks a week on an average basis, and those numbers should continue to climb over the next foreseeable future. Expectation is to produce about 350 dry metric tons of material on an annual basis. What that allows us to do is to do one full shipment out of the storage warehouse in Manzanillo. Once we have enough trucks, we sent out a full barge, and then we get paid again the final 10% that's left over. So hopefully on a monthly basis, which really helps with cash flows and allows us to hopefully start to build a bit of a treasury to go do some other exciting stuff at La Guitarra. Milestones, new resource report, that was early. Test mining, that was much earlier. We almost beat that goal by about 11 months. Same with commercial production. So we're able to be about 6 months ahead of schedule, and we've achieved every goal, as Greg had mentioned, on time and on budget. Quickly on the share structure, what's been great is we haven't increased any shares really since we've been able to get into production, which is a huge milestone for the company. We had looked at doing debt, we had looked at doing offtake, we had looked at a royalty, and we had looked at equity. We ended up taking a $5 million loan US from First Majestic on excellent terms, and that allowed us to get into full commercial production now. So as it stands, we have about 3 million Canadian on hand, 153 million shares outstanding. Management and founders, we still own quite a bit, about 24-25%. Institutions, just under 13%. And of course, First Majestic, who have been amazing supporters, they own 44.5% of issued and outstanding shares of Sierra Madre. We do have some analyst coverage since we moved into production. Both those targets have gone up. We've had one at 85-cent target and the other one at $1.30. So those are both increases from their previous target prices. And that's kind of the update we have for now. So we'll maybe pass it over to everyone for questions. I know we have some questions from Adelaide that we're happy to get into over the next little while.
Yeah, sounds good. If anyone in the audience has questions, like I said, you can just type them in the comments section. But I'll kick things off. So with the commercial production announcement, is the entirety of the 500 ton per day production sourced from the Guitarra mine versus other mines at this site or in development?
No, it's only from the Guitarra mines, I should call it, because there's about 4 different sections to the mine itself. We've got well over 30 kilometers worth of underground workings in there, and it's kind of spaced out in this pattern of 4 working areas. So, but yeah, it's coming from all our working, all the working areas right now.
And what mining method are you using at Guitarra, and how many miners? Sorry.
Primarily cut and fill. As we've talked about in the past, we are using some of the old historic backfill material. It's called retaques. And that's grading is as good as the material coming out of the fresh stopes for right now. But primarily cut and fill. And then we do have some long hole stopes that are in production too, which those are quite nice. After you get them blasting, it gives you a lot of tons to feed the mill.
And how many mining phases are active at a time?
Oh, geez. I think we've got around 11 different stopes, and they're all active. Some are in still silling across the vein, and then some of them are taking the first cuts up. So that's on the cut and fill. And the long hole rig has, I think, three areas that it can work in. So.
Okay. And then how has the ramp up from July to December tracked relative to your expectations? What went better than expected and why? And what was more challenging than expected and also why?
It's actually been quite a bit. We had previously kind of identified we'd run at about 350 tons per day for the first year. That was the goal. And with the shape of the mine, the amount of development that had been done, obviously having 11 plus working faces and the access to the Rataki material, we hit that number very, very quickly within 2 months. And we decided to push a little bit more aggressively than originally planned. The price of silver and gold definitely helped with that decision, and it worked out really, really well. We were able to push into that 500 tons per day by November. We had to do quite a bit of repairs on a couple of the ball mills to get us up to that point. We reworked the mine plan internally a little bit, just kind of pushed that forward in terms of running at 350 tons per day. So it was substantial. Going from 350 to 500 was the original plan. And so with the increased throughput, obviously our costs should be coming down, and also our revenues should be increased. So I think the silver price was a really big pusher for us as well. And I think also the opportunity to generate that much more cash flows made a lot of sense.
I think I've been involved in starting up 4 mines, 5 mines, and this by far has been the smoothest one yet. I'm really surprised, pleasantly surprised. I always told Alex, this is mining. What can go wrong will go wrong, and nothing really has gone wrong. So no, I've been very pleased with the results.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. And so talking about news flow in commercial production, what sort of news flow should we experience going forward with respect to financial and operating news? Do you plan on pre-releasing production results shortly after the end of each quarter?
I think that's it. And we started to see a lot more companies do that, and I like it. So what we would do is release production results in terms of the tonnage and all of that, dry metric tons, deliveries, things like that. And then you try to get the financials out shortly thereafter, so within a week or two, to give you kind of spaced out news, let the market digest what the geological and production results were, and then following up with the financial results. Also a bit of news, we will probably continue with a monthly update in terms of deliveries until we get our quarters out. I think the market just likes to see the progress. I think every month we've kind of increased deliveries, which is great, and we want to continue to do that. What'll be great, as I had mentioned earlier, is once our financials of Q1 are out, we'll really start to discuss kind of our all-in sustaining costs and things like that. We do want to get active as well in terms of exploration at La Guitarra. It is, we feel one of the largest undeveloped silver districts in Mexico. So we do want to build up to cash reserves to go explore that area. I think Greg was mentioning earlier, and if you want to get into it, Greg, some of the exploration potential in the East District and what the first few steps look like in terms of exploration.
Yeah, well, I want to start shortly, sooner the better, on getting a lot of the old underground workings that are accessible, get those mapped and sampled, so that we can nail down exactly where the ore chutes are, so that we're not drilling blindly. And then we'll be able to plan out our drilling program and then get it permitted. The permits, we've been having quite a bit of success getting those quite rapidly. So I don't see much of a delay there, but it's a process we have to go through. We do have one area, Tlacotal, that we actually have a environmental impact statement completed on. And that's kind of at the heart of everything. So we'll be basing a lot of our drilling outside of there. So that's basically already permitted. But no, historically, this is one of the biggest districts during the colonial period in Mexico. The Crown put out 6 different advisors / spies to make sure that the Crown was getting its 20% interest out of everything. And this was one of those districts. Yeah, at times it was the largest silver producer in Mexico coming out of the mine. So the real the prize over in the East District is getting into some of these high grade ore shoots like the were mined. The last real activity over there was in the early 1900s, and it was Rincon mining, or American Rincon. And for 20 years, they produced 100 tons a day that averaged 6.5 grams gold and over 850 grams silver. So that's the prize, and that's what our exploration will be focused on.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully have some, work, some results from sampling and maybe a bit of trenching, in the Q2 of this year, depending on how long that takes. And if all goes well and cash flows continue to increase and we start to build a treasury, we'd love to start to drill that area kind of when the rainy season is over. So October and November of 2025, so not too far away. And I think the market would really like that.
And beyond exploration, do you have expansion plans at the La Guitarra mine? And can you give us a refresher as to what an expansion scenario could look like at the site?
Yeah, we're actively looking at getting Colosso up and running, the Colosso mine, which is substantially higher grade than the stuff at the Guitarra mine. Again, that's already been developed, so we're weighing our options, doing it all ourselves or getting a contractor in to do it. But that'll probably be the next big operational step. And there's a lot of exploration over there, especially in the Nazareno, and that was going better than 300 grams silver, I think, in the resource. So it's that's an area unto itself, and we'll probably have a two-phase program there. Get Colosso up and running, and then do West District, as we call it, exploration, which is the Colosso Guitarra complex, and then the East District at the same time.
Yeah, and I think on the plant side,
do you have like a cost?
Sorry, I talk about our expansion of the plant as
well.
No,
go ahead, Alex.
Yeah,
no worries. Yeah, we're running about 500 tons per day now. The largest bottleneck is the ball mills. That's a grinding capacity. Our crushing capacity is actually good for about 640 tons per day, and the flotations are good for about 1,200, and same with the filter presses. So we're over capacity on those items. The only one that's really the huge bottleneck right now would be ball mills, and there are 3 operational ball mills. They're running really, really well. It gives us a little bit of flexibility in how we want to run and operate them. Now there is a 4th ball mill. It doesn't work, so we'd look to replace that. And once we replace a ball mill, we'd look to overbuild it as well. So maybe add a 4 or even 500 ton per day ball mill, and that'll let us play with the numbers and actually get us up to about 640 tons per day as the next step. We feel currently from the mine and the mining operations, we'd have no problem feeding that excess capacity that the mill has. So that's something that's, was in our longer term purview towards the end of 2026, but things have gone quite well, and if again cash flows continue to show that what they're looking at like right now, there could be an opportunity for us to increase plant capacity to 640 sooner rather than later, and then eventually we would look to increase the crushing circuit up to about 750, and then eventually up to 1,000 tons per day, which is still the goal sometime in 2027. So really doubling capacity in the next number of years here, which could be quite exciting. Eventually, you think fully to be 1,200 to 1,500 tons per day is probably the right size and operation for La Guitarra in that area, just on the western side, which is starting to get a quite nice number. And when you increase production, you increase throughput. Theoretically, your costs come down, which is also always a positive.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We've got room for another ball mill. So right now we got some internal studies underway. We've hired a civil engineer to take care of this. But how big a mill can we put in the space where the broken one is? And then I'm also having them look at how big a mill can we put in and replace the smallest of the 3 operating mills too. So it'll be a combination of all those. But the first steps to get the one where the broken mill is, get something in there. Like I said, 400 or 500 tons a day if it'll fit. And then the next step would be just addition of a 1 cone crusher and a belt, essentially 2 more belts. So that's pretty simple to get us up to 750. And then we'll look at the options of either building a parallel circuit or redoing. I'd prefer a parallel circuit because then we don't have to shut down. Get a parallel crushing circuit stuck in, and that's when we can ramp up to that 1,000, 1,200 tons a day, quite simply. But it's not complicated. It's not rocket science. So just step by step.
And do you have a cost or time estimate for this expansion?
Not yet, but we've done everything on the cheap so far, and I intend to keep doing everything on the cheap.
And do
It's
you
not a
require
huge
any?
amount. Like a ball mill is, it's the size we're looking at, maybe $1 million US. So again, nothing out of the ordinary. Cone crushers aren't that expensive. Rough estimates. I think we can get the first couple stages of that done for less than $3 million US.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
Got it. And do you require any additional permits for the expansion?
No, it's all covered in the footprint of what we already have, and actually, it's all under roof for what we already have. We'll also have to build a dry stack plant in combination with a paste fill operation. Probably do the paste fill first. Again, we're doing that design work on that. We've got some outside help on it, but a lot of that's being done internally. So we're trying to keep our costs down. That's one of the things. Like you go about doing a PEA or whatever, get one of these big engineering firms, and all of a sudden it's costing you more to get them to complete the work in the study than it does to actually install the equipment. So there's just we don't see any use in it at this point.
All right. Switching gears a little bit, can you talk about future plans for Tepic?
Yeah, absolutely. Go first.
I think the first step there is we'll get an updated resource done. We've kind of got our hands full right now with Guitarra, but as soon as we can free up a geologist or two, we've got a guy that's been training in modeling, and his work's been high quality and everything else he's done. Plus, I always take an active role in the modeling of these things, but we'll get a true resource out on that. I don't know, sometime this year, I think. Like I said, it's kind of as time allows on that. Aside from that, we're keeping all the permits are all active over there. All our land agreements we've kept active. Again, we'll get back to there when time allows and when we've built up a kitty. It's still a good looking project. And again, we always had a spoken hub type objective over there in Nayarit, and we're still keeping our eyes open for projects and opportunities in there.
Okay. I've got another audience question here. When is your earnings date, and will commercial production have any effect on the earnings this quarter?
So the plan is for year-end 2024 is most likely towards the end of April, but then we'll have Q1 2025 shortly thereafter. So within maybe 2 weeks right after. Commercial production definitely will have material impact on revenues moving forward. No question about that. So we want to get it right. We're rebuilding, I guess, our full modeling system in terms of the accounting and what we can disclose and how that works. So what's really quite nice, what's your commercial production, is we'll be able to, again, write off some of the interest rates. You'll be able to depreciate some of the assets and things like that. So it gives us quite a bit more flexibility. And also, announcing commercial production on January 1st of 2025 really gives us a fine definition of when we can start disclosing those numbers and what that's going to look like. So end of April for quarter 4 or for 2024 year end, and then a couple weeks after is the plan to release quarter 1 of 2025.
Got it. And are you able to estimate the expected split of revenues between silver and gold going forward?
I think I heard that question correctly, kind of cut out there. But the revenue split between gold and silver at La Guitarra, it's been interesting. So in the past, Greg, when you're operating it was about 65-35 silver gold. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we're down to a little more gold coming out now. It's not 50-50, but it's more like, I don't know, 40-60 silver to gold, or 60% silver rather than 40% gold. Sometimes it's more like half and half. It just depends on what the feed is for that day. But no, we're down to a little bit more gold rich. But the bottom line is they both pay money. So I'll take it any way I can get it.
Yeah, gold price is obviously appreciated more than silver over the last little while here. So that's why those numbers are higher. And also we're getting a bit better gold recoveries. We changed the reagents around within the flotation plant, so that also increased the gold. But as Greg mentioned, we're very, very happy with both. I firstly see silver, outperforming gold over the next year and a bit. So those numbers could go back to historic numbers of 65-35. But yeah, we're kind of 55-45, 60-40, even close to 50-50 on some deliveries, depending on which area we're in, and also the price of gold and silver.
Great. Well, I don't have any additional questions. Was there anything you wanted to talk about today that we didn't cover?
Not really. No, we're really happy. As Greg mentioned, it's been fairly smooth for sure. Getting the restart operational and getting back to commercial production at La Guitarra. We have about 205 people now at site. Everyone is really working towards a goal. Having these weekly deliveries is going to be very, very material for Sierra Madre, especially a company of our size. And again, we are looking constantly at expansion. So that could happen sooner rather than later, as we went from 350 to 500 much earlier than planned, and the opportunity to maybe get to 640 earlier than planned as well, which would be great. Exploration is the true reason why we bought La Guitarra. So as we built up a bit of a treasury, we'll definitely let Greg loose to go find as much silver as he possibly can. So thank you again, everyone, for being shareholders, or if you're prospective shareholders, we're always open to chatting and things like that. But we're really happy with it. We're really pleased, and we look forward to continuing to deliver as we progress at La Guitarra.
Well, congratulations to you both and the entire team for achieving such lofty milestones in advance of when you guided. You don't see that too often in the mining business. So congrats. If anyone that's participating or watching this webinar later would like a one-on-one or has any questions, feel free to reach out and I can have that arranged for you. And yeah, thanks everyone for participating. Thanks Greg and Alex for the update. And yeah, good luck in 2025.
Great. Thanks so much for organizing this, Deborah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Deborah.